There is no better sight than open wheel modifieds in the state of Florida in the month of February. Moments away from getting started here in 2025, the historic 40th season for the NASCAR Modifieds. I'm Joe Koss alongside Andy Austin. We're getting close to the green flag.
Full house tonight, and look at that, people in shorts, probably for the first time since September or even October. They are ready to see one big show. And Joe, this is going to be kicked off in a very, very special way, thanks to the Whelen Modified Tour and Flow Racing.
Going to be a big night for sure. Young Luke Baldwin has earned his first career pole position. He'll lead the field around to the green flag. Now for the command, here is Ben Dodge.
NASCAR, Robert and Jane Hart, and the new Smyrna Speedway family, that I proudly salute the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Gentlemen, start your engines.
It's so good to hear that voice, the voice of the great Ben Dodge, who is synonymous with Speed Weeks here at New Smyrna Speedway, who is under the weather and not able to attend with us tonight, but our hearts and thoughts are certainly with him, and he is with us in voice on the racetrack, sending these 31 drivers ready to do battle for 200 laps, Joe.
It's going to be an outstanding race. You mentioned Ben Dodge. He has been part of this program here at New Smyrna Speedway. The Hart family has had him down as part of this for decades upon decades. Modified racing, his voice, his name synonymous with this type of racing. I got Ben dialed up here on the old text message. He's going to be alongside us tonight. He's got a little bronchitis. Wasn't going to be ready to announce, but he's ready to rock and roll. He's going to be firing off updates and giving us his insights as the race goes on.
Joe, do his thumbs work?
Oh, no doubt.
Okay, so we're fine. We're going to be hearing from Ben. He's going to be blowing up our phones.
We'll still hear from Ben here tonight. Going to be a wild night. 200 laps. This racetrack is fast. High banks, 23 degrees. Ultimate racetrack for modified action. Packed house, packed crowd. It really doesn't get much better than this.
And then you have the old asphalt, which is going to be very, very key in how someone ends up in victory lane tonight, because it isn't just follow the leader for 200 laps. There is some major strategy involved, which we're going to see play out over the next 90 minutes to 2 hours.
Yeah, Jesse Punch is going to update us on some of the rule changes before we see the green flag, and it's going to add a whole nother flavor of what they can do with these tires, how that plays out to being able to deal with that old asphalt you were talking about. Tracks in the South tend to have a really gritty asphalt that wears the tires out, and as a result, it puts the hand of the drivers in control as they've got to muscle these cars around the racetrack, and that's where the excitement comes in.
That is why this is completely a packed house here tonight, and we have a ton of people watching on Flow Racing. You see the field 31 strong, set to get the green under the flag stand of Sean Houlihan, our starter here tonight. And it's a mix of veterans and rookies, too. We have an impressive number of rookies in the field. You can take a look at one of them on the pole. There's Luke Baldwin with young Austin Beers on the outside of the front row in car 64.
That's the future of modified racing right there on the front row here tonight at New Smyrna. Steven Kopchik, only a handful of starts. He'll start third tonight. Now a four-time series champion, Justin Bonsignor, will start fourth.
He started up front last year and is in the top 5 this year. Fast race car for Craig Lutz in car number 46, with Eric Goodale to the outside in car number 58.
Matt Hirschman won the inaugural race here for the Whelen Modified Tour. He's won 5 of the last 7 Speedway track championships here as part of World Series Week.
Andrew Krause will go to the outside of him in car number 24. And then it's Chase Dowling in car number 44. Rounding out the top 10 is Patrick Emmerling in car 1.
Ron Silk, he'll start 11th, 2-time champion, and Tyler Ripkema might be one to watch in Old Blue, car number 3.
They ran a couple of different races last year. It was the races they struggled with they learned the most. Jacob Lutz in the clean, number 14, will start on the inside of row 7. Tommy Catalano to his outside in car number 54.
Well, the Fleming family, they won big at Bowman Gray. Frank Fleming, 65-year-old, in the field here today alongside Kyle Bonsignor.
Tyler Catalano in car number 84, followed by Dave Sapienza in 36. And then it's the New Hampshire driver Brian Roby with Mark Stewart to the outside of the 81.
Trevor Catalano, Ryan Newman, and Tyler Berry, and Max Sackham in row 12.
Looking at the back of the field, Brian Sonas, the school teacher, on the inside of row 13 with Jeremy Gertzner in number 55. Back on the racetrack, followed by New Hampshire's Mike Marshall and Chris Hatton to his outside out of Ormond Beach, Florida, a local hero starting in row 14.
And Ken Hagee, Gary McDonald, and Norman Newman rounding out our starting lineup here tonight at New Smyrna. She'll be busy all night on pit lane covering the vast numbers of stories that we're going to have related to strategy. Jesse, tonight it's going to be about what happens on pit road. Bring us up to speed on the new rules that are in play and how they impact pit stops here tonight.
Yeah, you are right about that. Pit road is key here at New Smyrna. So, as you said, important to note this change to the rules. Teams can take 2 tires per stop. So they are able to take more than 2 tires under a single caution, but they would have to make another trip down pit road. Also, reminder, teams cannot take fuel and tires at the same time. So we do anticipate to see a fuel stop from a lot of these drivers here early on in the race. But noting all of this, it adds a lot of potential for pit strategy here. And as we've seen in years past, that's the key to being successful in this race.
You're right, Jesse. I know it's a new season. It's the first day of school. That means you've got a new pair of shoes, and you're going to need all of that to be able to run up and down this pit lane here tonight at New Smyrna, because they're going to keep you busy down there on pit road.
One driver we're watching on your screen right now is Ronnie Silk in car number 16. He seems to, he's looking to get his mojo back after struggling towards the end of 2023. He fell short of the championship to Justin Bonsignor, and we expected the 16 team to come out of the gate fast this afternoon. That hasn't been the case. They qualified outside the top 10, and that is something that doesn't happen often with Ron Silk.
It's going to be interesting to see if he can navigate through this field. This is a very, very competitive field. The teams earlier today said there's not a lot of grip in this racetrack. I'm going to have to be up on the wheel. I'm going to have to be aggressive from the drop of the green flag, and I'm going to have to bring the heat. It is Florida after all, and we're ready to fire them off here to start the new season. All the work, all the preparation that went into the offseason to be ready to rock and roll, it comes down to the opportunity to race here in front of a packed grandstand here at New Smyrna in one of the most iconic weeks, not only in short track racing, but in NASCAR racing in general as part of Speed Weeks here in the state of Florida.
Lights stay on the pace truck in turn number 3. Many of you watching with snow either in the forecast or already starting to fall. Don't you just love racing where you can watch it on flow and we are under 65, 70 degree temperatures and there are people in shorts while you're at home waiting to shovel yourself out tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. Maybe you have to do 2 rounds of it. Right now we have 200 rounds of roundy rounds with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour kicking off season number 40.
Whelen Engineering lights go out. $412,000 point fund for the modifieds this year. $82,000 to the champion. Nearly $16,000 on the line here tonight for the race winner at New Smyrna. And it's all about the win here today as they get ready to roll. The young 18-year-old Luke Baldwin and the family 7 New York. 7 New York has been just part of the history of the family. 3rd generation racer in Austin Beers, 2 young guns on the front row. Mike Mosier will bring that pace truck down the pit lane. The green flag is out, and the 40th season of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour is underway.
From the outside or from the inside of the front row and the outside line to the lead, it is Luke Baldwin leading the freight train back into turn number 1. Austin Beers now closing up in 2 with Bonsignor advancing to 3rd. Drop kicking Craig Lutz moves up to 4th. And one driver losing time on the outside. That's Eric Goodale at the back of your screen.
Goodale into 58, running outside of the 21 of Stephen Kopczyk, who's in this car. Anthony Sesley has driven the team car, the 19, but he was injured in the offseason in Atlantic City in an indoor race, so they only brought the 21 car down. Stephen Kopczyk Kopsick will run a handful of races here this season. Qualified well inside the top 3 here tonight, but settles back in line here in the early going.
We talked to him earlier this morning. That's how long these drivers have been at it. As we've mentioned, the first day of school, they were doing all of their media obligations as early as 10 o'clock this morning. One of the first to go through was Kopsick, and he was all business. He was one of the first to get through so he could go work on the race car, have a strong showing here tonight.
There's a look at the 44 car of Chase Dowling. Dowling will be in this car in 2025, and that car is going to be one to watch. They worked a lot on race pace speed, and boy, it looks like so has the 51 car, but the caution flag is out. First time of the night here tonight.
And one driver spins. That's car number 55. And what a story he has been over the course of the last year, as a wild event at the last Speed Weeks for the driver of car number 55 of
Jeremy Gershner.
Jeremy Gershner, yeah.
Been able to get that rolling once again. And last year, practice, throttle hung wide open going into turn number 1. He broke many of the bones across his pelvis, his leg. Really spent 5 months in recovery. Local Florida team. He's now moved up to North Carolina. An opportunity to be able to run a few more races on the tour. But what a wild recovery it is for him. Let's take a look at what happened to Jeremy.
And he's going into turn number 1. He was running towards the back, and there he just ends up sideways, and a harmless spin, much smaller incident than he had at relatively the same place 1 year ago. And, you know, we talk about a driver who has gone through so much physical therapy and so many different surgeries. I don't know if I could find another driver that has the amount of gratitude he has for life. Out of all the drivers we talked to today, he is about as full of life as any of them, if not more. Immense gratitude. He has a son that he's bringing through Legends Racing who has some health challenges as well. But there's nothing that can keep that family down. They are full steam ahead.
Well, Whelen Engineering brings us under the first caution flag tonight. The Whelen caution lights are on. Whelen, the official warning lights of NASCAR, trusted to protect first responders.
There you have a great shot into turn number 1. Again, 7 quick laps into this one. Luke Baldwin has had this field in hand. Austin Beers quickly gave a quick chase, and then had the caution flag not come out, I'm not sure what Justin Bonsignor would have been able to do because he was getting ready to do battle on the inside going into turn number 2. Watch the 51 come alive on the restart in just a moment.
Well, we're joined now by a gentleman who knows a thing or two about modified racing, and he was racing at Bowman Gray Stadium last weekend twice, the NASCAR Cup Series, and it is modified, the 2013 Wheel Modified Tour champion. Joins us, Ryan Preece. Welcome to the booth.
Yeah, no, it's certainly different being up here watching one of these races, but man, what a great crowd right here for the modifieds, right? And just goes to show you there's a lot of modifieds, mainly fans out there.
Pretty wild. I mean, this is something that you have continued to stay connected to, whether you're behind the wheel of one of these modifieds, jumping in the role as a car owner to a modified a little bit later on this year with the kid who's out in front right now. Different look for you this year, but it's great to have you here.
Yeah, you know, not being up in the Northeast and not racing modifieds as much, you know, my father and I both have a huge passion for modifieds. So Luke's obviously doing a great job. And, you know, my father's worked with them in the past, so I'm sure they're going to go have a good time. And I'd like to see him keep running up front here.
Well, we're going to find out. You got to let us know what you're seeing here. We're hearing a lot of teams and drivers talk about a lack of grip here at this racetrack. This track changes a lot from the sun we saw earlier to what we see at night. What are we going to see here in this early restart?
Well, I think a lot of people are already complaining about loose. And, man, I just, you know, it's going to be important to keep track position. And I want to focus. Ooh, that's not good.
Kopsick out of shape, dancing, trying to keep that car pointed in the right direction, but he collects the outside wall with that left rear tire. And Kopsick started third tonight, but he brings out the second caution of the night.
Ryan Preece, our guest here. And Ryan, you know, this early in the event, we get a couple of quick caution flags. This is a strategy race. At what point do you start thinking of pitting for tires?
Man, that's so tough. I think there's a rule here that you take 2 tires per pit stop, right? Which opens up the strategy. You come in, you grab rears early on, and then you grab right sides. And so, I mean, going 200 laps, this is going to kind of help some guys just because you might be able to stretch that right rear a little bit longer than you anticipated with these cautions right now, but you know, I'm probably the worst person to ask about that because I'm just a tire killer. So I'm looking forward to that 59 lap Monday night show as well as the 50 lap on Tuesday. But yeah, it's tough. But the strategy end of this whole thing with 2 tires per stop can certainly open that up.
You spent a lot of time coming up through your modified career at, in your home state of Connecticut, Thompson Speedway, Stafford Speedway. Those are racetracks when you dive off into the corner, you drive hard into the corner, you get right back to the gas. Ted Christopher wide open, just flat open. This racetrack is a bit more finesse. You roll it down into the corner easy, and then you're getting back onto the gas. So take a quick look here at the third car outside lane. Kopchik just did not come up to speed. Andrew Kraus nowhere to go, and boy.
Oh, and he got it right at the end.
Man, how about the 14 split the middle there?
Yeah.
That was wild.
Here's another one.
Black 14. He's about 8 cars back, 4 wide through the middle.
Yeah, you hit him with the old razzle-dazzle. Check that out.
I like it. That didn't take long to come out. Get you on the mic for about a minute and a half and razzle-dazzle. I love it.
Yeah. I did listen to Buckler, one of your announcers for a long time,
yep,
so he's giving me enough ammunition.
That or your spotter.
Or Waddell.
Sean Waddell,
yep.
many years, who works with the Racing Electronics Group and provides radios here. I remember there was a win not too long ago at Thompson Speedway. You got out and said, Waddell told me to give him the old razzle-dazzle, and I did.
Yeah, that's right. He's definitely got plenty of one-liners that I'll never forget, but yeah, you were talking about this track. I mean, I remember when it was newly repaved, had a ton of grip. All you wanted to do was run the outside. And over the years, this place has just aged, and it's honestly, I mean, the outside, the inside, it just provides great racing with these Tour-type modifieds. So, yeah, I'm passionate about them. I love them. I love watching them. I love driving them. I think they're honestly one of the best asphalt race cars to drive.
And you'll be here, as you alluded to, a couple nights this week as part of the World Series of Asphalt Racing. Always great to have you participating in that midweek program before you get ready for the Daytona 500.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to come down here since I think it was like 04, 05. I've skipped maybe one or 2 years in the process, but to be honest with you, it's like Christmas in February. I tell everybody, you can learn so much coming here to race those 9 nights or however many nights that we run. Usually up north or whatever, you have to wait a whole week. And you could just learn so much about your car. You can learn what you want. You can make some changes. It's a great time, and then you're coming down here with your friends. You're racing during the day. You're going out to a restaurant or whatever after, and then you do it all over again. It's just it's a great time to come racing.
And a great opportunity for you. I mean, you have worked hard from the start of your modified career right up to now the Cup Series. 6th season there, a great opportunity with RFK, and you showed a lot of strength last weekend at Bowman Gray. And you come into a Daytona 500 where Chris Busch, your teammate, has won at Daytona before. Brad Keselowski, one of the best drafters, and I've seen you run pretty well at Daytona before also.
Yeah, there's a lot to take in for sure. I think Brad and Chris are both really, really prepped and ready when it comes to these super speedways. So I feel like this is probably the most prepared I've ever been going into a super speedway. But yeah, no, I'm pumped about it.
Ryan Preece, 2013 champion, with us here in the booth as we watch the opening laps of the Whelen Modified Tour race. Luke Baldwin steps on the gas. His car steps out a bit as he brings it down to the green flag alongside Austin Beers on the outside.
Here's Baldwin off of turn number 2, pulling ahead by 1 car length. Beers now fighting to the outside. Bonsignor not giving up. Sticks it down to the inside. Full shot off of turn number 4. New P2 to Justin Bonsignor back into turn 1.
Ryan, we talked a lot about the success that Justin Bonsignor has had. You have raced with him many years. How do you describe his racing style, and how do you compete against a guy who's just on fire like the way he is?
Yeah, no, I think him and Stone really hit it off years ago, and they've just continued to build on this notebook. And one thing about the 51 team is usually, even if they don't have track position here in the first opening 10, 20 laps, their car just stays so consistent, has such great forward drive. So look for him to keep moving forward here. But, I'm watching this 7NY, and it looks pretty stable.
Yeah, we saw that in qualifying earlier today, too. He glides the car into the corner. No movement on that steering wheel at all. Just a pretty wheel out of Luke Baldwin all day long.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's going to take. You just got to keep it nice and smooth and really just keep the forward drive in it.
Ryan, you've been on a roll in the modified, much like Justin is, where he's won 3 straight races. Trying to go for 4 tonight. What is it like to be in that role where you're the guy that's come in the last 3 races and everybody has their eye on you?
it's just momentum. Momentum is everything. Chemistry is everything, as well as, to be honest with you, communication within your team. And that 51 team has that. And as you can see, Justin's just he's just biding his time. I mean, his car looks really smooth and really fast. So, man, I think Hirschman's going to, ooh, yeah, that's a problem.
Jake Lutz around on the back straightaway here at New Smyrna has got that car rolling again. 3 quick cautions in the first 20 laps of this one here today.
Ryan Priest, our guest in the booth here, and we talk about momentum with Justin Bonsignor winning the last 3 races and all the communication. On the other side of things, it seems like the other superpower within the Whelen Modified Tour of Ron Silk, a bit off their game the last couple of weeks, stretching back to the last part of the season. They've certainly struggled here this afternoon as well, into this evening, running mid-pack. How much of this game is mental when it comes to racing at the Modified Tour level?
Yeah, I mean, Ronnie was so fast last year. So I'm a little confused. I mean, right now, because they were really a super contender. So yeah.
See what happened to Jacob Lutz here. He was trying to go 3 wide off turn 2. Kraus and Silk on his outside, and it was Silk who got out of shape off turn 2, came down across the Nerf bar, caught that right front of Jake Lutz. And it doesn't take a lot with these modifieds to knock them loose with that right front.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, at that one little touch, we're open wheel race cars, and you hit a tire on a Nerf bar or whatnot in the wrong way, you're going to go sideways. But like I was saying, Ronnie, I mean, when I think about coming and running the Whelen Modified Tour, you know, I think Matt Hirschman, I think Ron Silk, and I think Justin Bonsignor. So that's what I was referring to. Is last year he was so strong, you know, in the tour race and at the beginning of the week. So I figured he'd be right there, and who knows, he could be riding right now and moving forward.
Phil Moran's a tricky man. He knows how to make it work with these modified cars and can certainly find the setup in the second half of the race. We talked a little bit earlier about your step into that ownership model. Luke Baldwin is a guy that you decided to put behind the wheel. He's new to the series, but he's already made a name for himself in modified racing. I'm curious, Ryan, as your perspective as a driver, what do you see in Luke as we get our first round of pit stop? What do you see in Luke that really gets you excited about his talent?
What's exciting about it is, you know, Luke, his father's taught him right. He wasn't just throwing in and grabbing a steering wheel. His dad made him work. So I remember when my father came here and actually helped him run his 602 crate car a few years back. Luke was right there in the middle of it all. So that's nice to see. At least, you know, I have a lot of passion about racing and modified. So it looks like we got a battle under the yellow.
Yeah, Kyle Bonsignor and Ron Silk arguing over who belongs where, and that really stemmed from a drag race off of pit road. As you know, they're under. Looks like Ron's going to go ahead, but you know, continuing with the Luke Baldwin thing, working on the race car. I think that's one of the things that gravitates fans towards you. The old school race fans, still, if they're looking for let's call you still a newer driver or a driver of this generation, that you know they really gravitate towards you because you know your boots on the ground. You know you're under the race car and you're doing as much hands-on work as you can. Yeah. Do you see a little bit of that in Luke, and did that cause you guys to really gravitate towards each other?
Well, I think the relationship I've had with Tommy in the past, as well as, you know, he's starting and going in the right direction. So I like that. But what I'll point out about when you pull off pit road, I wouldn't ever get in a nerfing match with Ron Silk. He is somebody that's really, really good. I mean, he is super fast, and he really knows how to put his car in the right place. So I wouldn't want to get in a fighting, match with him.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed about Ron and working with the Tour is when the team gets to this point, that's when they perform the best. And I'm going to go back to a race, Joe, you were part of it, at NASCAR Speedway a couple of years ago, where they were involved in an incident not of their doing. They made a half dozen pit stops under that elongated caution flag. He was nearly a lap down, came back and had a solid top 5 run. That was actually a crucial race for him to end up eventually as the season-long champion. So when they're down, they're going to get back up.
Never give up attitude.
And just so you guys know, when all these guys I believe they all came down to put fuel in their race cars, they're on 25 lap tires. everybody's going to be complaining about being a little loose right now. You don't have that good old grip of a new tire with all that rear percentage. So look for some guys to be sideways.
Yeah, about half the field took fuel. Austin Beers will restart 16th, the first car that came down pit road. The leader, though, and Eric Goodale, who are on the front row, did not take fuel. And so you've got some mixed strategy already that Jesse Punch talked about at the beginning of the broadcast. How about the Rocket Man? Ryan Newman in that 8 car around the outside lane.
Newman settles into spot number 2, right behind your leader, Luke Baldwin, who's led basically from the drop of the green flag. Goodale actually showed in second, followed by now Newman's up to second, Goodale back to third. Chase Dowling, 44, is up to 4, solid run for him. And how about pit strategy for Max Zackham? Started deep in the field, car number 20 already inside the top 5.
Stayed out on the racetrack to get that track position as he continues to move forward. Frank Fleming was another one. We watched some great battling deeper in the pack. You see Trevor Catalano, who won at Monadnock Speedway last year. Dave Sapienza. Ryan, I know you've spent a lot of time with Sap and that group trying to improve their program as he drives that Ted Christopher-inspired 36 sideways into turn 3.
Yeah, no, Sap's, he's always been really good to me. And one thing, I try to help him when I can. So seeing him run pretty decent right now is good. I'm just hoping he's not going to be loose like I usually am.
He sent it in there to turn 3, and he was all crossed up that last time through. You see the cars bottom out a lot in turn 3 here at this racetrack, too.
The 09 almost runs right out of steam. And there's a big, nearly big trouble on the front straightaway. Caution flag is out as, the 81 involved in this one. And it looks like the 14's right behind him.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm terrible to watch a race with.
This is good, actually.
Yeah.
Ryan, you don't see it off camera, but Ryan's pointing the action over turn 2. I mean, Ryan, you are into it. You are just as much a fan as a participant of this stuff.
Yeah, usually when I'm, whether I'm watching an Xfinity race, a truck race, a modified race, and I'm sitting next to people in the room or my wife, they're slapping me because I am so, I'm jumping up, I'm screaming, I'm doing all that. So, I kind of saw that before it was even happening, and then obviously you saw the chaos. So, but what I was about to say about Sap, what I was about to talk about Sap earlier is, I had the car set up like I'm driving it, which is usually driving off the right rear and loose. Well, let's check this replay out.
There's a couple things happening. Chris Hatton got up and out of the groove. Tyler Berry got into him, and then Mark Stewart, who's used to racing at Riverhead Raceway, you've won a bunch of races there, got collected by Jacob Lutz a bit deeper in the field. Lots of action unfolding here in the opening 30 laps at New Smyrna. We're just getting started with the Whelen Modified Tour season. In the early stages of the season opening event for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, just getting started. We've already seen quite a bit of drama in this one, and we're joined by a NASCAR Cup Series driver for RFK Racing, and more importantly, the 2013 Whelen Modified Tour champion, Ryan Preece. And Dave Sapienza, we started before that caution and the incident on track. To talk about Dave Sapienza, you guys have had a good relationship for many, many years.
No, yeah, he's been just a great guy. All of us that race against him, we just love him. He's funny. But so whenever I try and help him, or whenever I'm around and I can help him, I like to. So I was down here for practice, and like I was saying, usually my cars are a little looser, right? And so I started him out that way. And after a few laps, he was done. He was pulling in, and he showed good speed. And I said, "Hey, Dave, how's the car?" I didn't get anything back at first, and then I said, "Hey, Dave, can you hear me?" He goes, "Yeah, hold on, brother. I gotta catch my breath here." So it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I love working with him, and he's a great guy.
Dave Sapienza is not a guy to be speechless. That's quite the accomplishment.
Yeah, that's for sure. So there's actually a lot of great personalities out here in the modifieds, and actually I have my radio with me, so when I'm done here, I'm gonna go listen in and check in with him. But I saw they came down for some fuel, and he was already a little loose. So now I'm really concerned he's going to be loose. So I don't think you guys are going to want to go and talk to him for a little while after. He might need to catch his breath.
Yeah, in the break, Ryan was looking at the setup that they were making. He's like, "Oh no, we're in trouble now. Here we go."
Yeah, I don't think so. I just think I know when you put fuel on older tires, it's just it potentially makes you a lot looser in these cars. So. just thinking about that, I'm really thinking about him right now.
So, right, we're trying to stack the deck, for having the freshest tires at the end of the race. How long, if you're calling one of these races, for the team, do you let these guys hang out there on the old tires?
What's the tire rule? I mean, how many tires do they get for this race?
You get ultimately 6, but it's rotated through, so you've got 4 stickers that you can play with.
So you get 6. Yeah, I'm somebody that wants to wait as long as possible. Tires wins races, so I take those 2 scuffs, I put them on the rear for around lap 75, 80, try to get myself to about 140, 150, and come in and take them at that point.
From a guy who knows, Ryan, good luck at the Daytona 500. It's been great having you with us here for the start of the modified season.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
All right,
Enjoy the show.
Ryan Preece getting ready to go. He's going to put that headset back on, give Dave Zapienza a little bit more advice as to how to get this race car around the racetrack as we get set to get back under the green flag. How about under that cycle, Ryan Newman jumps out to the race lead. He will restart on the outside of the front row along with Chase Dowling as we get back under the green flag.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. Ryan Newman, who was famous for doing just that very thing in his NASCAR Cup Series days, leads the pack into turn number 3, but it's good side-by-side racing for second. One driver gets out of shape. That is Justin Bonsignor in turn number 4.
Bonsignor dropping to the back of the pack outside of the top 10. His anchor is out 4 wide as they dive to the inside of the front straightaway, but trouble for Justin Bonsignor as a battle is on for the race lead. The young Austin Beers digging down to the inside underneath Ryan Newman.
How about this pull off of turn number 4 as the caution flag is out because Justin Bonsignor comes to a halt between 1 and 2. Again, going for 4 wins in a row. It has not been accomplished since 1997. And the 3-time defending champion continues around the racetrack. 4-time champion on the racetrack on the front stretch now. He's under power, but big problems for car number 51.
So the 51 car, slow, got shuffled out of line up there in turns 3 and 4. Came to a stop in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Caution flag came out, and we are back under the caution flag now 39 laps in to the new Smyrna Beach Area Visitor Bureau 200 here for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour.
And he pulls onto the pits, or onto pit road, with the red lights on.
He's coming down to the attention of his crew in the number 1 pit stall here along the pit lane. And Justin Bonsignor paused
right front
on pit road.
Looks like he might have had a right front tire go down.
So the field is going to circulate around here as he is on pit road. They will release, let's go down to pit road, and Jesse Punch.
Yeah, your speculation from the booth was correct. The team says he cut that right front tire, unfortunately, costing him some major track position here under that last incident. But getting that tire changed, getting that 51 back out on the track. And look, the team says it's a fast race car. It's unfortunate, but we're confident in our guy. We still got a lot of laps left.
Well, Jesse, the word from race control is that Justin Bonsignor will receive a 1-lap penalty for bringing out the caution over there in turns 1 and 2. He will be held a lap. He's now that lap down as the pace truck had passed on through, and he'll rejoin at the tail end of the field. Not too many cars a lap down, however, so he could get that back here with the quick succession of cautions that we've seen so far tonight.
And that was rolling the dice, too. Justin and his team, veterans at this. Yes, they are having the 1-lap penalty to be served, but had he pitted under green, there's a good chance he would have lost 2 laps, and quite possibly even 3, depending on the severity of the situation. One of those things you just kind of have to weigh out, but it's a game of seconds, too. You have to make that decision in a split second, and Justin back on pit road now, as is Brian Roby in car number 25. And then you have the Barry Rod in car 59 as well.
So Justin's going to come in right now and serve that penalty that'll put him a lap down here today. And so he is going to wait, the NASCAR official there. Other cars on and off pit road. Ryan Newman, who was leading this race not too long ago, came in and got fuel for his race car. On and off pit road again, Max Zackham. Remember, he had stayed out earlier under the 4th caution of the day, and that allowed him to get some track position to be a little bit further forward inside the top 10. And Justin Bonsignore and this team now has a bit of work to do. You mentioned, it's a game of seconds and how quickly things come. Well, for Justin Bonsignore and Ryan Stone, believe me, they are very calculated. They know the scenario and they know how to play the game based on different things that are presented to them. So it was a gamble to breaking out that caution after being shuffled way out of line with that right front tire. Would have been a lot more costly had they stayed out on track. But now he'll have to rejoin at the tail end of the field. Only 42 laps in. Justin Bonsignore will be shown the first car and only car 1 lap down, back in the 30th position out on track. So a quick caution is what that team is looking for. Meanwhile, though, the rest of the field stacked up in rows of 2 in turns 3 and 4. You've got Austin Beers, who elected to take the outside lane as the race leader. Chase Dowling on the inside of the Tinio family, number 44.
Field gets the green flag, and Beers quickly out to a 2-car linked advantage back into turn number 1. He leads the drivers who are battling side by side behind him, nearly 3 wide, because here comes Matt Hirschman up the inside. The PD Motorsports number 60 now rockets into the top 3.
Haven't heard a lot about Matt Hirschman yet tonight, a 5-time champion at this racetrack. A defending winner, former winner of the Whelen Modified Tour here. The inaugural event slides into 3rd place.
Cream is starting to rise to the top, and one of the drivers I'm really looking at is Craig Lutz in car number 46, who led a good chunk of this race 1 year ago. Slightly different paint scheme on that 46. It was an all-black car last year, but a nice speedy white paint scheme on that 46. Running inside the top 5, he has not budged from that position all night. He's been solid. And another driver who's really looking to avenge a nightmare start to 2024 is Kyle Bonsignore, and he has found himself inside the top 6.
Yeah, Bonsignore had an engine fail at practice today. Missed the second practice session. Another car off the pace. The 09 of Chris Hatton, high and out of the groove along the front straightaway as the battle for the race lead begins to intensify. 2 young drivers, Austin Beers, the race leader, and the 44 car of Chase Dowling, which is a welcome sight to be back on the Series Tour after several years away. Dabbled with some part-time runs here and there, but Dowling is quite the talent behind the wheel.
Joe, you mentioned they are doing a full campaign, and I'm sure a lot of it has to do with how Whelen have stepped up this year with their amazing point fund, and even just race by race. This race, the winner taking away close to $16,000, $2,000 for the final finisher of the afternoon, or excuse me, of the evening. So it's not just a big number for the winner. They're taking care of the entire field, which is crucial to the health of a series like the Whelen Modified Tour. And Whelen definitely, in their 25th year of sponsorship, a title sponsorship of this division, have really stepped forward to a bridge to the future in this.
The Catalano brothers dueling for position. The 54, Tommy Catalano, the older brother to Trevor, who's sitting there right behind him. Here comes Steven Kopczyk, though. Kopczyk on the move, diving to the inside in turn 2.
It's funny. I was talking to the Catalano brothers this afternoon, and, of course, they had written down their favorite food, which you may or may not have seen on the screen so far here tonight throughout the different behind-the-scenes stuff that we've shown. And, of course, each of their Catalanos, of course, they're going to say they love pizza. So I had to ask, pineapple on pizza? One of them said yes to pineapple on pizza. Can you guess which one?
I would say Tyler.
Nope, Tommy. Tommy was pineapple on pizza,
really?
And Trevor wanted to throw him out of the house.
The reason why I said that is Tommy is like the OCD brother. Everything's got to be perfect. I figured him be just a plain cheese pizza, nothing fancy.
Yeah,
where Tyler's kind of like, hair down, kind of wild, kind of crazy. Messy is okay. So
you want to put pineapple on my pizza? That's okay. Just throw it right on.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, so Tyler's not from Maine. Sorry, that was the Maine in me coming out.
We heard Maine, no doubt about it. I'm more of a bacon pizza kind of guy myself. I like bacon. But Tyler in the 84 starting to backpedal a little bit. Now Luke Baldwin, who led the opening stint of this race in that 7 York, trying to carve his way through traffic. He's right now back in the 12th spot. They had that strategy that they played, so they got their fuel a little bit later, and now they're trying to rally back up through.
Don't look now, but Ronnie Silk has peeled his way into the upper echelon, or excuse me, the middle part of the top 10. I was going to say he was breaking into the top of into the top 5. Not quite there yet, but he's knocking on the door. The battle is in turn number 2. Silk, who remember, qualified outside of the top 10, throws it hard into turn number 3. 2x2 with Kyle Bonsignor, and now Ronnie Silk advances into the top 5. The team was down, but don't count them out. He's finding his mojo, and it's back in turn number 1. Advantage Silk.
Silk comes alive. That opens a door for Tommy Catalano to work to the inside of Kyle Bonsignor. They've got a lap car of Gary McDonald. They'll have to work around. That shuffles everybody up to a higher groove. But Silk trying to get away from Catalano. But you know what? That Catalano car looked really good tonight. It wasn't that long ago he was bypassing his brother and Steven Kopchik. He is charging to the front of the field right now in the 6th spot.
A lot of comers and goers in the creeping up to the middle stages of this race. We're only 58 laps in the books when they hit the start-finish line this time, and Austin Beers is in command of the race, but it's not a runaway. It's almost like Chase Dowling has the faster of the 2 race cars, but not able to do, or maybe he's just being patient with the leader right now, but 2 of the younger stars of the field having a great run as the caution flag is out.
Caution out again here tonight for the 6th time in the New Smyrna Beach Area Visitors Bureau 200. To kick off the Whelen Modified Tour's 40th season. Got a car that's up into the fence here in turn 4, excuse me. And that is Brian Sonis making his debut in the Whelen Modified Tour. And everybody down in Freeland, Pennsylvania, they had a big watch party going. The entire gang was there. And they are not liking seeing their driver up in the outside wall here in turn 4.
That is a tough break for that driver, and it's great to see some new blood in the Whelen Modified Tour. And again, to come back to Whelen and them stepping forward with a major recommitment to the series. And I know it's drawn interest from people who were just dabbling in the series. Some new teams coming into this too, and give a call to the high school, or excuse me, to the math teacher. The math teacher who goes racing on Saturday nights, and a special hello to the watch party on Flow specifically for him. I think that's great. It brings families together who can't make it, and they can live vicariously through us who are in shorts and T-shirts and on a Saturday night in February in Florida, when a lot of the country is going to be hit with 6 to 12 inches of snow in the next day or so. I wonder if I can get home tomorrow.
It's Florida. Do you really want to go home? It was 71 degrees when we took the green flag.
Do you want to sit in an airport all day, or do you just? You know what it is? This is the adult version of hoping they cancel school.
Exactly right.
You just wait. Yes. You're like, come on, get the superintendent on board here. I want to get that text message.
I do have to admit, I did show my wife how to use a snowblower before I left to come down to Florida for a week. She wasn't real happy with me. But pit road is open. We're ready to go. And they have Chase Dowling is on pit road. Austin Beers is in. Everybody coming in for the tires. Now, the strategy, you could take 2 tires at a time. And Jesse Punch down there covering all the action on pit lane. We'll have all the stories as we get ready to see these pit stops.
You'll see the number 26 up in front. He's going to be the free pass car, which means Justin Bonsignor stays 1 lap down in this one. So he's going to be mired. Back in the pack is 26. McDonald will get that free pass.
All right, now let's watch what happens. So a lot of cars came in. They already got their fuel early in the race. Now remember, they can take 2 tires per stop. Will they just take 2 for the entire caution? Will they come back in? Will they get a little bit more? We're going to find out when they make their way down the back straightaway, headed toward pit lane. We'll see if we get any takers for another trip down pit road and how that changes the dynamic of this. We heard Ryan Preece up here earlier in the show. He said, I want it with like 75, 80 laps to go. Tires wins races. Everybody now coming in early to get their 4 tires, including Justin Bonsignor back on pit lane.
It's going to make for a crazy end of the race if everybody's getting their rubber right now. There's the number 3 moving in there of Tyler Ripkema, and what a great story that's been to see the Bowler team in Old Blue have a consistent driver all year. It's something that they haven't necessarily had in their recent history. But, you think of all the drivers that have wheeled that vehicle to success. Most recently, Jake Johnson with the victory at Monadnock Speedway last year on the tour. They parted ways in the late summer, early fall. Ripkema went into that seat and has done quite the fine job.
A lot to keep our eye on as we get into this green flag here in just a few moments. The field is cycled back around. Several cars came down pit road, but what's interesting is the drivers who stayed out. Among them, Matt Hirschman, who will inherit the lead for the first time today. Ron Silk inside the top 2. Tommy Catalano, Steven Kopchik inside the top 4.
So there are a number of drivers who took tires, as you said. There isn't a uniform pit setup or a strategy right now. It is all over the map. It is going to be interesting to see how things pan out towards the end of the race, because you have drivers who have all their tires now. You have drivers who have just swapped a couple of tires here and there. So there isn't one set. Okay, this is exactly where everybody's at, and it's driver versus driver. It's strategy versus strategy as much as it is man versus machine here.
As I look through this strategy here early on, 143 laps to go seems very, very early to come down and get tires, considering the fact that we've run so many laps under caution tonight.
Yeah, you have a lot more experience in this series than I do, and I certainly don't want to overstep my boundaries and saying, geez, they're getting all their tires now? That doesn't seem right. And then you're, oh yeah, that's what they're doing. It doesn't seem right.
Yeah, don't overstep your boundaries.
Yeah, that's never happened.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's not good. We get ready to go. The Whelen Engineering lights have gone out around the speedway. We're going to have quite a different mix of strategies. The front few cars have not come down for tires most recently. Then you've got drivers a bit deeper in the field who did. Drivers like Austin Beers, who showed dominance leading early in the race. Patrick Emmerling has their tires, and Frank Fleming, who's now inside the top 10 as well. So quite an interesting dynamic that we see out on the racetrack here, and you're going to see comers and goers. But Matt Hirschman, big money, out in front, that 60 car outside. Row 1 will lead them on to the green flag. Pace truck is in, and we're back under the green flag in New Smyrna.
Field screams off of turn number 2. It is Matt Hirschman jumping into the lead and extends it. Good night. 3 car links as Ronnie Silk battles for a second. He'll inherit that position, and here comes Catalano in the 54.
Boy, high exit for Matt Hirschman that time. Off turn 4. Silk second. The top 3-4 cars go single file. And how about Dave Zapienza? Maybe it's that Ryan Priest luck. Little tuning from the former series champion inside the top 5.
Sapienza runs right there in the top 3, and they're stacking up behind him. Here comes Catalano. Further on back, Trevor Kraus now to the inside. Car number 81 looks strong as well. And there's Austin Beers, who, again, is on that pit strategy, but he's mired back in the pack. And as happens in any different discipline of racing, you got a fast race car, but you end up cycling to the back. You have to deal with all that traffic, and sometimes that's when things go south. And with these drivers, these race cars that are so sensitive just to wheel hops, which nearly happens that time between Austin Beers and Patrick Emmerling, and then you throw Catalano in there, things can go south in a hurry.
You see a taste of Patrick Emmerling there. We haven't seen a lot of him tonight, but that's a team that I think is very optimistic about their chances this season. They return the same crew. They don't want that sophomore slump. They took everybody out to dinner last night and said, we are going to work harder than everybody else, but there is trouble between turns 1 and 2. Eric Goodale is in it. Tyler Berry involved in this one as well. 4 cars in all get caught up in the incident here to bring us under the caution flag.
I believe that might be Fleming, too, in car number 40. He refires that ride. 65 years of age, 46 years behind the wheel, and as spry as ever. This driver, of course, they're fresh off the high of winning the race at Bowman Gray with Chris Fleming last week. And here with a strong showing, qualified inside, well, nearly inside the top 15. Fast race car all afternoon and a spring in his step. It was great to see Frank Fleming have a great run here so far. Another driver on the other side of his luck, not having a good lap 70.
Chase Dowling, right side damage, and boy, what bad break for that team. They were so good. I thought had one of the best cars on the racetrack not too long ago. We mentioned Ben Dodge. He was feeding us highlights along the way, and he said, watch the 44 of Dowling. That car might be the story tonight. And unfortunately, under this caution flag, it's the story for the wrong reason. That Nerf bar badly damaged and dragging on the ground.
Crew tends to work on it. Here's what happened. Coming down the front straightaway, there's Emmerling. The camera will point back just a little bit, and then somebody, it looks like Bonsignor hopped, and so did Ripkema, and it was just an accordion like a Bonsignor. Justin was involved in that one towards the end of it. Here's another replay, another angle.
what happened. The 22 was a little out of shape, maybe got into the 3, and that bounced a few cars up the racetrack. We mentioned the strategy, right, of trying to take those 2 tires and take them early. Well, when you do that, you end up in the back of the pack. And for a guy like Chase Dowling, he had clean sailing out in front. But now all of a sudden, he gets caught up in an incident not of his doing. The crew will go to work. It's been an eventful night so far here at New Smyrna. More to come as we get closer to the halfway point. Back here at New Smyrna Speedway, getting ready to get back under the green flag. Under this most recent caution, Justin Bonsignor will earn his lap back. He's now back in the 22nd position. Matt Hirschman, still the race leader, lining up alongside Tommy Catalano as we go back under the green flag.
Much like 2022, Matt Hirschman jumps into the lead and leaves the field behind. Up in front of Patrick Emeling by 3 car lengths as they scream it back off of turn number 4, stacking him up from 5th on back.
Single file, the top 3. Andrew Kraus, one of the first cars to step on the line. He has damage in the inside of his car from an early incident. He'll go toe-to-toe with Luke Baldwin in that 70 York, who's rallying his way forward now inside the top 5 after they play their strategy out. He is moving to the front.
Remember, these drivers took their tires fairly early. Luke Baldwin seems to be the smartest of them all right now, methodically making his way through the field, and smartest of them all, and methodical do not usually go along with an 18-year-old, but certainly Baldwin wise beyond his years. He's trying to go to the inside of Catalano, this time off of turn number 4, but Catalano shuts him down, and the brothers head into the field, head into it 3rd and 4th on the racetrack.
How about Tyler Catalano? What a great run for him in that 84 car in the tire tracks of his older brother. Looks in the rearview mirror, gets a little bit of help getting down into turn 3 from Luke Baldwin.
I can't help but watch Craig Lutz continue just to be as solid as possible, and I think that's what that team needs. They had flashes of brilliance last year, including in this race where they led a ton of laps, and there are a few opportunities last year for Craig Lutz to get to victory lane where they led a lot, just could not put an entire race together. This is exactly what that team needs. Not necessarily to be flashing up there and leading 70 laps or so, but just to put together consistent runs in the top 5, and that's what they're doing. Meanwhile, they find themselves together on the racetrack again. 16 and 51. Both have had trouble in our opening race for 2025. Ronnie Silk was close to the front earlier, but solid right now on the racetrack with Justin Bonsignor, who was as far back as 30th, 1 lap down. For those who are just tuning in, it was an earlier incident which he caused the caution himself by parking between 1 and 2. He incurred a 1-lap penalty and was mired back in 30th. Now he was up to 22nd most recently, but still marching back to the front.
Keeping an eye on Luke Baldwin as he works in front, picks up the spot. Look at that right front wheel, though, as he gets down into turn 3 and 4. He is using up a lot of brake in that race car. And I'll tell you what, you can see the sparks sparking off of it when he goes down into the corner on both ends. He's really driving the wheels off it, and that's not usually good here at New Smyrna because this is a track you got to float it down into the corner. Easy on the brake. Tells you that Baldwin's really up on the wheel here.
And also, look at Austin Beers. Beers running down low in turn number 1. I'm not sure if we're in tire conservation mode, that running that hard and that brash into the corner, especially corner 1, is really smart for a long-term run. Back to the 7 car who goes down to the inside of Catalano. Everybody's chasing Matt Hirschman like it's 2022. The PD Motorsports number 60 on cruise control. Talk about a driver who's able to conserve, a driver who's able to choose his line and run it as hard or as soft as he wants, playing catch me if you can. It's Matt Hirschman off of 4.
Hirschman is just so smooth. He knows how to make this game work. His dad, one of the all-time winningest drivers in championships in modified history. Last night, they had a dinner preseason meal for the entire Whelen Modified Tour owners and drivers and crew. There was a poster, and it had Matt's dad on it, celebrating the 40th years, and his sons were saying, hey, there's Pop. I see him on that poster as part of the history of modified racing. That family has been part of all of it.
Craig Lutz, Kyle Bonsignor, Eric Goodale in front of Ronnie Silk. Meanwhile, oh, trouble. 56 and 84 make contact, and the 84 still with problems. Ronnie Silk involved. There goes Bonsignor down to the inside, and Kyle Bonsignor into the wall.
The 2 brothers, Trevor Catalano and Tyler Catalano, got together midway down the back straightaway and that has brought us under the 8th caution period, and the worst end of the outcome, Kyle Bonsignor. It has been a tough day. An engine in practice, and now the right front here just shy of the halfway point.
Past the garlic bread is going to be awkward next time between the Catalanos. Contact on the back straightaway as Kyle Bonsignor with the window net up, so it looks like he's just trying to get it backfired and maybe needs the push truck at this point.
Let's get another look at it. Watch on the back straightaway, the 56, that's Trevor Catalano. That's where all the action starts. Younger brother in the 56 car, older brother in the 84 car, just middle of the straightaway, drives right into the back bumper of his brother and sends him to the outside wall. After the fact, trying to avoid Kyle Bonsignor, locked him up into the outside wall. Let's take another look at it. Head on down the back straightaway. Boy, he just misjudged it.
Yeah, it's. I think he was trying to go down to the inside in turn number 3 and set him up. It looked like he had been trying to do that for the few laps prior. But just, you know, they say football is a game of inches. Racing, sometimes millimeters, certainly centimeters, inches. And now the window net down for Kyle Bonsignor. You just hate to see that as he's exiting the vehicle. Tough break. They started last year and had a couple of really rough outings. And that went into, okay, well, we're into test mode for the 2025 season, hoping to put it all together. This year not starting off much better for car number 22.
Well, as cleanup is underway here in turns 3 and 4, we'll step aside, come back with more from New Smyrna. All kinds of action that'll keep you busy all summer long on Flow Racing. We're glad to have you with us here as the season opener for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour here at New Smyrna Speedway. Joe Koss alongside Andy Austin. Jesse Punch covering the action down on pit road, and our remote consultant today, Ben Dodge, firing all kinds of feedback with us. Is Ben under the weather today. He'll be back with us for the race in his home state of Thompson, Connecticut. Now, take a look at that 56 car there of Trevor Catalano. Got into his brother there under that green flag midway down the back straightaway. You were talking about no passing the garlic bread under the Christmas or the holiday break at dinner. These guys actually do have different shops, and it's because Tyler is kind of the messy brother. We were talking about the hair's all crazy, right? Kind of kid. But these guys do have different shops, so at least they'll have a little distance between each other, but it might be a long ride home back to New York State.
I can guess that, and quite a messy one if they're riding home tomorrow, for sure, with the storm moving in. Patrick Emmerling from the inside of the front row with Matt Hirschman to his outside, and then it's Luke Baldwin. 92 laps, make that 93 laps on the grid now. Green flag is in the air, and we're racing.
There's one guy you don't want behind you right now if you're Matt Hirschman. It's Patrick Emmerling, because that team really has everything together here in the early going. But how about that 7 New York? Sends it off to the inside of turns 3 and 4. He wants third.
Equal muscle from the 56 of Catalano. He is ready. He is hungry this afternoon. Nearly got into the back of the car in front of him, battling with Emmerling for second.
Turn 2. It's Justin Bonsignor into the outside wall. He got sideways off turn number 2. Pancaked the right side of that 51. Jeremy Kirshner goes around to the inside of the back straightaway after the fact, but a pretty hard hit for the 51 of Justin Bonsignor.
He hasn't had the most luck with New Smyrna. If there is an Achilles heel for the number 51, who is going for, I would say, not an unprecedented 4th straight win, but it has not happened in this century. The last driver to do it was the great Mike Stefanik in 1997. There have been many drivers who have won 3 races in a row, including Bonsignor himself, including our guest Ryan Preece here tonight, but nobody has done 4 in a row since the 90s. And he had made his way to 9th, but he's going back in a hurry, and you can see the side of that race car.
Well, he hit that wall pretty good. You can see him weaving it back and forth. You can see the paint that's adorning the right side rubber on that 51 that came straight off the outside concrete over there in turn 2. That car got to the outside groove, started to step out a bit sideways, and then it just walked away from him. These modifieds, they've got big 13-inch tires, and if you turn those modified tires back to the right, when it catches, it takes off. And Justin Bonsignor is certainly aware of that. Let's take another look at exactly what happened. Watch the 51 here coming off the corner, how the car just steps out of line as he comes up off turn number 2. 9th car back. There it is sideways. And you see when it catches pretty good. and he caught the right rear tire first, glancing blow off that right front. I'd have to think that he's got a fair amount of damage, that the toe might be knocked out, but pit road is open, and Justin Bonsignore is staying out on the racetrack.
It's amazing. He last time he didn't finish in the top 10 was back at Riverhead in July of last year. He only had one finish outside of the top 10 last year. Yeah, he was dominant towards the end, and he had to come from behind to win that crown. But tonight, it has certainly been an up-and-down show. Well, now he's pulling down to the inside. Looks like he will hit pit road, goes to the inside of Silk. Oh, he's going ahead of Silk, and Ronnie's not going to like that.
Might just been NASCAR realigning everybody based on the lineup. What they do is as you come across the start-finish line, that is the scoring lap because they don't have scoring loops at other locations. So they go back to the last scored lap. Bonsignore, although was in it, must not have been called the caution car. The caution was brought out for the 55 of Jeremy Gershner when he spun. And so because Bonsignore was able to maintain speed, he also gets to maintain his position by the NASCAR rulebook.
Very sharp-looking car, number 51. You're going to see him multiple times this year in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, expanding his schedule to 9. And it's great to see regional stars like Patrick Emmerling, like Justin Bonsignore get these shots inside the top 3.
Let's go down to pit road and Jesse Punch.
Guys, I'm standing here in the 51 pit. This crew obviously frustrated with their bad luck they're having here today at New Smyrna. Now you were speculating on the damage. They hopped up ready to bring him down, but Justin called him off. He said the car feels fine, so I'm going to stay out. We will not see that 51 on pit road.
Well, you won't see it in the middle of the racetrack either. It's got to find a place to go, and now it finally, well, let's just see how this plays out.
Well, they're disputing the position. Both Sapienza and Justin Bonsignore believe that that's where they are supposed to restart. It looks like Bonsignore is going to win that battle. Both those Long Island, New York drivers. Caution lights will come back out onto the racetrack. They'll take another look to make sure that they've got the starting lineup in the proper location before we get back underway. So they'll give them the 1 to go this time by. The Whelen Engineering lights have gone out around the racetrack, and Justin Bonsignore's eventful night has another story laid in among it. We'll see what happens when he gets back under the green flag and how competitive that car will be.
You saw him go side to side, and right now he's side by side with Ronnie Silk, and the lights are out on the pace truck. Yeah, it will be interesting to see if he can come to full speed again. And he has had troubles in basically every corner of the racetrack this afternoon into this evening. It has not been a star night for the driver who is searching for his 4th straight win. Meanwhile, back up in front, the driver who has had this race for about the last 35 minutes. That is Matt Hirschman with Patrick Emmerling to his inside. Then it's Catalano. Then it's the pair of 18-year-olds on the second row. Luke Baldwin and Trevor Catalano in car number 56.
Matt Hirschman will lead the halfway point of this. He'll pick up the Jostines Filkers Halfway Leader Award presented by Jostines, and he will go ahead and grab that towards the year-end bonus that'll be laid out at the end of the 2025 campaign. Hirschman out in front to battle Luke Baldwin. Patrick Emmerling is raging on off turn number 2. Baldwin takes a look to the inside, midway down the back straightaway, and settles back in line.
And you gotta love that veteran move from the 18-year-old. He knew that he could make the move on Emmerling, but still, we have just under 100 laps to go. There's still gonna be plenty of time to do that. And why not wear the guy's tires out in front of you while you're at it? Young Luke Baldwin rides in 3rd, but Craig Lutz, I don't think Lutz has been out of the top 10 all night. Car number 46 continues to have those consistent laps waiting for something to happen in front of him, and he could seize the opportunity instead of being the opportunity that's been seized, which has been so often the case with that 46 team. They've been plagued over the last couple of years.
Lutz and that team have had good first half of races. What they need to do is have a good full race, and crew chief Doug Ojeko told me before the race, he says, we got to miss, we're going to miss small, and we're going to be calculated in the changes that we make for the second half of the race. So far, they've done that well as we just get past the halfway point. Here comes Luke Baldwin, though, inside turn 3, looking inside of Emmerling.
Patrick Emmerling, who had a tear last July, winning 3 straight, or actually 2 of 3 races, getting himself in the championship fight. He came into Martinsville with a shot at the title last year, and that was a first-year team. This year, they have a year under their belt. Their notebook is much thicker, and Emmerling is proving that there is not going to be a sophomore slump with the one team. He rides position number 2, 3 car lengths off the back bumper, but he's got Luke Baldwin right in his rear view.
He and crew chief Dale Hedquist have really fired on all 8. Patrick Emmerling has, and he's made a nice little charge. I think they expect to win. They're not going to let things get in their way, and I think you're going to see him be a lot more aggressive. But, boy, he's going to have to be on the defense here, because here comes Luke Baldwin. Off turn 2, draws to the door of Patrick Emmerling.
Right now, the road to this race goes through the 60 of Matt Hirschman. But the way that the 7 of Luke Baldwin has been passing cars left and right and methodically tells me that this is going to be a battle that goes right down to the wire between the 60 and the 7. One driver off the pace. Looks like that might be Andrew Krause in the 24. As we keep an eye on the 60 and the 7, maintains about 3 car lengths between the 2 of them in front of this packed house in New Smyrna. Everybody racing from the snow. Before we started the event, if you're just tuning into Flow over the second half of this event, we asked how many people were escaping the snow, how many people are on vacation. There are thousands of people in attendance here tonight, and about 60% of them were like, yeah, I got to go home and shovel. The rest of them were local, so a nice mix of drivers who are fans who are basically at a race that is very much a destination race for modified fans every year.
Well, Emmerling now has given up a couple of spots in as many laps as Ron Silk was able to get by him. Emmerling now back to 4th, falls into the clutches of Craig Lutz in that 46 team. Up front, though, Matt Hirschman has shown the way for a while. Luke Baldwin wants to get back out in front where he started from the pole position, but I was curious to see what Baldwin would have for speed in his race car. He had to work his way from the back of the pack under that last caution. Hirschman on older tires has been able to hold him off. We're getting down to the final 88 laps to this one, and Baldwin is on the attack.
We got the young 18-year-old hotshot in Luke Baldwin, who is very aggressive from second place. We have the most methodical driver in the field leading on old tires. We're only on lap 113. So, does Matt Hirschman say, Luke Baldwin, you go for it? Go wear your tires out. Or is this all the PD Motorsports machine has? We're going to find out over the final 86 laps of this race. 87 laps as they go back into turn number 1. Brand new leader, it's Luke Baldwin off of 2.
Is it too early for Luke Baldwin? Did he make that move a bit too soon? Will Matt Hirschman have an opportunity to get back in this, or will it be the driver in 3rd? Ronnie Silk has gotten the speed back in that 16 car that he hasn't had all night. He's 3rd. He's closing into the back bumper of Matt Hirschman.
Ronnie Silk in car 16. They looked about as beaten as I've seen them in about 2 years. Now, this is a driver who won the championship in 2023. Led the championship. He was nearly unbeatable for a stretch of the season last year. They fell off a little bit. And in the 105 days between Martinsville and New Smyrna, you would think that, well, they're going to double down. They're going to come out of the gate just as strong because they need to avenge that loss. They seemed like they were off in practice. They were off in qualifying. Slow on the uptick in the first half of this race, but don't call it Ron Sulk. It's Ron Silk, and he's smooth, closing in on the back bumper of car number 60 off of 4. He wants second place.
He's gobbling up the distance pretty quick as he is now right to the back bumper of Matt Hirschman. Down in turn 1, you can see Silk, high entry, trying to set him up for a pass off the exit of turn 2. Just does not have to drive off the corner, but he's still on the attack to the back bumper of Matt Hirschman.
Right in the tire tracks, now sees daylight off of turn number 4. They're trailing 18-year-old Luke Baldwin in the 7 New York, and what it would mean for modified fans to see that black number 7 in victory lane tonight. If you're a student of modified history, I'm sure you'd love to see it. Ronnie Silk wants to upset it, but so does Matt Hirschman, your 2022 winner, side by side with the driver who's won the last 2 events. And people forget that Ronnie Silk is a 2-time defending champion of this race. He's trying for his Patrick Mahomes 3-peat in car number 16.
He's getting after it. Here comes Hirschman trying to rally back, but he just does not have the speed as Ron Silk able to open up the gap and drive away. But checked out at the front of the field with a healthy advantage, 1.2 seconds. Luke Baldwin has built a little bit of a cushion, but is it too much? Is it too fast? And is he going to have to pay the price for that later as we get deeper into this run.
I really like what Tommy Catalano is doing in car number 54. He's running a solid fifth. Now, there are two drivers in the top 10 that I'm really looking at right now. That's Catalano in the 54 and Ryan Newman in car number 8. Newman just advanced to 9th, and he's running a very smooth Ryan Newman-like race. In a conservation race, this is a Ryan Newman event, and he loves modifieds. Meanwhile, on your screen, you'll see the number 54 of 54 of Catalano get the whole shot on Emmerling. Chains in position as Catalano will rocket to spot number 4. Emmerling just outside the top 5. Meanwhile, further on back in the pack, Craig Lutz losing another spot, so the tire's starting to go away on the number 46. Meanwhile, Trevor Catalano works the inside. It's Sapienza. No, it's not Sapienza. It's car number 21 moving up and having a great run as they continue to fight. And look, here comes Ryan Newman down low.
Ryan Newman is on the move. You can look at the lap times. His lap times are as fast as the race leader, Luke Baldwin, last time through. Fastest car on the racetrack, though, that belongs to the second place car of Ron Silk. He is starting to track down the race leader, Luke Baldwin. The other car that is quick, Tommy Catalano in 4th. He goes by Matt Hirschman to now take over the 3rd spot. Catalano is matching the pace that Luke Baldwin has out front.
We are in uncharted territory for tonight. We had a rash of caution flags to start this race. We haven't had a long green flag run until now, and you're starting to see the green rise to the top. It's the pole sitter, Luke Baldwin, who was mired back in the field after an early pit stop. And the story that we're following now is, will the 18-year-old burn his tires up? And a two-time champion, two-time defending winner in Ronnie Silk, who's about 10 car lengths off the back bumper, be using his veteran prowess to just be patient enough to pounce when it counts the most inside the final 25 laps.
From our Northern Command Center, the veteran and our colleague Ben Dodge says, watch the 16. Experience will pay off over the young kid, Luke Baldwin. The stopwatch seems to prove that to be true. It's now down to 7/10 of a second. Ronnie Silk in about 4 laps has cut a half a second off the advantage that Luke Baldwin has.
I do not bet against Ben. He's the man who knows these cars inside and out and has been instrumental in this series for so many decades. As we watch Patrick Emmerling down to the inside of Matt Hirschman, and this is a very un-Matt Hirschman-like race where he's the ultimate conservator of his race car, but he has not conserved very well tonight by standards of the other competitors as he's fallen back just a little bit.
Keep an eye on this battle here. Steven Kopsik in the 21, the battle for 6th. Ryan Newman in the 8 car. Newman led a few laps early on in this race. Strategy put him a bit deeper in the field, but Newman has been turning quick laps as well.
Boy, Ryan Newman looks so good. Can put that number 8 car wherever he wants it, and very, very smooth. He's not running hard into the corners at all. So he's not burning up his tires. He's fast. He just hasn't fallen off nearly as much as the other guys. And right now, Kopsik doing a great job of hanging on to it. Falls back just a little bit. Ryan Newman makes the pass on Kopsik. Kopsik tries for the crossover move as they come up on the purple machine. That's a lap car, so it won't affect those two drivers at all as they fight it out further on up.
Watch Newman. He's hanging that left front tire below the yellow line, using the apron and the banking to get that car to turn. That's a veteran-like move. That was one of the ways he was able to gain ground on Steven Kopsik. There is the battle for the race lead. Luke Baldwin from the pole at 18 years old, 3rd-generation racer. His grandfather won 4 New Smyrna track championships here in a modified. He wants to put his name into the history books here at New Smyrna in the Whelen Modified Tour, but he's got a 2-time champion in the form of Ron Silk and 2-time winner here at this track, going for 3 in a row, tracking him down. Ron Silk, he's got the rod and reel out. He is reeling in Luke Baldwin.
I love the pun. The number 7 of Luke Baldwin leading this race. He was the pole sitter, and as Jesse Punch pointed out earlier, the first time a Baldwin has been on the pole since 1992. Long before Luke Baldwin came onto this earth. as number 16, boy, the separation. You can see the accordion, and it's shrinking, and it's full of silk. Meanwhile, further back, there's Austin Pierce to the inside of Catalano. Trevor Kraus has moved up. Kraus had a great run last year in this race, has been off just a little bit, but now we watch Ryan Newman. There are battles going on all around this racetrack.
So Newman sneaks on through to move inside the top 5, continues his march forward, but he's got a long way to go, 6 seconds behind the race leader, and time is running out as Hirschman's tires have given up. He is faded now outside the top 10. A moment ago, we saw the battle. Austin Beers was able to get by Trevor Catalano. He's now in the 9th position, and there has just been great racing all around this racetrack, but out front, this battle for the race lead's about ready to get saucy. Here comes Luke Baldwin out in front. Lap traffic is there, and Ronnie Silk is on the back bumper.
And look at that, right on the back bumper, and almost comes in contact with Dave Sapienza. They'll now go around McDonald in car number 26. Separation about 3 car lengths. It had been down to about 1 before they caught the lap traffic, and the 18-year-old aces it like a pro off of turn number 4. It's Luke Baldwin, it's Ronnie Silk. Now they have some clear sailing ahead of them. 1 car further on up. Looks like that's the number 11, but that driver will pull off of the racetrack on the back straightaway.
Leaders will pass by to the outside lane. It's car length or 2 separate the 2. We've been curious about what is going on with Matt Hirschman. Jesse Punch, what's the story from the 60 team?
We've been watching that 60 car fall back and questioning the tire situation. Well, this crew tells me they still have 4 tires available here for that car. So we can anticipate the next time we see that caution flag, they plan on bringing them down and taking all 4 tires. Now, of course, as I had mentioned earlier, they will have to make 2 stops to do so, but that 60 is going to have a nice fresh set to finish this race strong.
Oh, he must hate his race car right now. It's smoking on the right side as 60 Matt Hirschman falling back even more so. And you can't tell me with these cars, as greasy as they are, sliding all around the racetrack, we're not going to have at least 1 more caution flag before these 57 laps are clicked off.
Smoke, though, out of the right side, as you mentioned, of Matt Hirschman. His car beginning to fade. You look at the Baldwin car. Now, one thing that you got to think about, how many times has he been leading a Whelen Modified Tour race in the late going? Now, he's won a lot of races already in his young career. Ron Silk knows how to navigate lap traffic, and he knows how to navigate it here at this racetrack. Will that be the difference in the closing laps?
He won in 2023. He won last year, and he won in a 10-lap shootout last year. So whether it's a long run, whether it's a short run, it's tough to beat Ronnie Silk. And think of your own walk of life. When you've been down and out, when you've had a couple of bad days, when work's not going so well, what do? You don't bury your head in the sand. You rally, but you don't rally as an individual. You do it with your team. And this 16 team has literally, in the last 90 minutes, changed their course, and they are now contenders with Matt Hirschman having some problems on the front stretch.
Matt Hirschman has been shown the black flag from atop the flag stand, that smoke billowing out, becoming a problem for him. So NASCAR throwing the black flag, and here comes Matt Hirschman coming down pit lane. He is no longer being scored, but the caution flag comes out. We've got trouble over in turn 2. 1 car stopped. It's Trevor Catalano, and that brings us under the caution flag again here tonight with 53 laps to go in the season opener. And boy, that gives us an opportunity to catch our breath. So many storylines playing out here tonight at New Smyrna, and boy, what a turn of events for Matt Hirschman.
Boy, Hirschman 1 lap short of, we'll have to see how race control works, the team number 60, but he was black flagged multiple times. He was not being scored anymore. They are pulling him on pit road now in car number 60, the PD Motorsports team, the 2022 winner of this race. You know, looking at the top 10, couple of great stories where you have Newman now breaking in the top 5 as we go to Jesse Punch on pit road with the number 60.
Matt Hirschman in that 60 has made his way down pit road. I mentioned earlier this team holding on to 4 tires to give him to finish out this race. They planned on making that 4-tire stop either way under the next caution. They didn't plan on having those issues there come out right before this caution. So definitely confident, but not what they were hoping to see here over those last couple laps. Got 2 right side tires on, and this team will bring him back down again to change those left sides.
Thank you very much, Jesse. As we watch the number 60, Matt Hirschman, Getting back to the drivers inside the top 10, there is Ryan Newman in 5th. There's Brian Roby, the driver from New Hampshire, who's now jumped up inside the top 9. A methodical run for him. He was mired mid-pack, but now has found his way in the top 10. Kopsik having a great run, too, in car number 21. Trying to figure out what's going on with Matt Hirschman. He made the pit stop. He has new tires, but there was some controversy leading up to this caution flag surrounding the number 60.
Yeah, certainly. So pit road is open, and the leaders are coming down pit lane. And, boy, this was much needed for that 7 New York of Luke Baldwin. This was an ill-timed caution. I think it would have given Ron Silk a healthy advantage. Onto the right side, they'll take right side tires for Luke Baldwin at the very minimum. Tommy Catalano is in. Looks like they are going to do rear tires on the 54 for Tommy Catalano, and then right side tires for the race second place car of Ron Silk. Now take a look at what they're doing on the 7 New York. They're taking 2 tires on the right, but they are going to go on the left side of that car, and they are going to swap the left front and right front, front to back.
So for the uninitiated, what is the advantage to doing that?
The left front on a modified does not get a lot of use as a loose tire for the 58 of Eric Goodale. They went back to retrieve that one across the pit lane under this caution penalty for that, and I'm sure. Typically in a modified, you take 3 tires. You leave the left front on the entire way. There's a 2-tire rule where you can only take 2 tires per stop on this Whelen Modified Tour 2025 schedule at this race. The left side tires, though, you can swap the front one to the back. The front one doesn't get a lot of use.
So it's like a brand new tire.
So you get a new left rear tire.
Scuffed.
Now, Ron Silk and his team have decided to come down pit road a second time. What Tommy Baldwin did just there was brilliant. He came down, he got his tires, 2 right sides, a fresh left rear by virtue of swapping those tires around, and he is going to be ahead of all these cars that came down pit road a second time to get another round of tires in their race cars. Let's go back down to pit road and Jesse Punch.
Guys, as you noticed, both the 16 and the 1 came down for a second run there, taking the left rear tire. Now, we haven't heard a ton from the 1 today. They've been running incredibly strong, and in talking to this team, checking in with them periodically throughout the race, I said, you guys have been awfully quiet. What does that mean? They said, that means all things are good over here. We're just running our time. Well, those laps are ticking down, so keep an eye on that 1 team. We'll see how they do in these final closing stages of the race.
Yeah, I agree, Jesse. We've been on that all day long. Back on pit road is a 60 of Matt Hirschman. Now, they took tires, Jesse, as you had said a moment ago, but they haven't addressed any of the smoke until now. What exactly is it? Is it something coming out the right bank of that machine? Ben Dodge seems to think it might be power steering, but they are looking at the valve cover on the right-hand side, so it might be something in the valve train itself as they look to take that valve cover off the engine on that 60.
They are so gosh darn smart because they took the tires, they banked on the idea that whatever they needed to fix, they were going to fix, and it was going to take a few minutes. But let's get those tires on because, for example, if it gets down to it and the green flag's coming out, they need to go in a hurry, and they can't be messing around with tires. So take care of the tires. Doesn't matter, if they're not going to be on the racetrack, then they won't matter anyway. So let's get them on and see what goes. While the 60's back together, pulls onto the racetrack, and still trying to figure out where he is in the running order as he was black flagged in the laps leading up to this caution flag. As it shows right now on the scoreboard, Catalano is your leader in car number 54. Austin Beers, haven't talked about Austin Beers for a good half hour or so. He was up front for a good chunk of the first part of this race. Mired back in the pack after a pit cycle, now rides in second. Andrew Krause, is having a great run in car number 24. He was solid last year, but now showing the highest that he has for the entire race. And look, Craig Lutz back in the top 5.
Along with Tyler Ripkema shown in 5th. So the few cars that are right behind the pace truck are going to be cars that'll get waved around here. Tommy Catalano is going to be the race leader. Let's reset the field for you. Tommy Catalano, Austin Beers, Andrew Krause, Craig Lutz, Tyler Ripkema. It's your top 5. Ryan Newman, who came down pit road. Max Zackham, Luke Baldwin will restart in 8th. Ron Silk, Patrick Emmerling, your top 10. Now, Tommy Catalano, tonight is his 90th career Whelen Modified Tour start. He's finished inside the top 10 a handful of times, including a strong run at Richmond a few years ago where he finished second. He always likes the big tracks. Tonight, he is trying to see if he can hang on and get that first win. Earlier today, he said, I am confident. I feel good about tonight. He was very quick before the caution flag came out. Can Tommy Catalano hold on for the final 45 laps of this one and score his first win tonight here at New Smyrna? Only time will tell. They're doubled up off turn number 4. Green flag is out. Tommy Catalano will go to battle with Austin Beers.
Beers shifts up the racetrack just a little bit. Now Andrew Kraus is pouncing down low in car number 24. Here comes Craig Lutz, and they'll drag it back to the start. No, excuse me, turn number 3. And Catalano losing time on the outside, a little bit loose off the corner. Give the advantage to Beers back in turn number 1.
Slight edge getting down into turn 1 belongs to Pennsylvania's Austin Beers, hanging on to the outside from New York. Tommy Catalano. Here comes Craig Lutz, though. Swings down to the inside, side by side, dead even across for second.
And don't look now at the back of your screen, car number 7. The black 7 is Luke Baldwin, the driver who has dominated this race at different stages of it. Now up in front of Patrick Emerling, in front of Ryan Newman, and they all chase Austin Beers back into turn number 3.
Luke Baldwin restarted in the 9th position. He's up to 5th already with plenty of time to go, but he's under attack as behind is Patrick Emerling working the inside in turn 1. Up front, though, the battle is on for second. Tommy Catalano trying to find a way to get back around Craig Lutz.
We talk about Craig Lutz putting that race together, and yes, that one race where they are strong throughout. They have shown flashes of brilliance. They have led more laps than teams that finished ahead of them in the point standings, but could not put it together. And now, with 41 laps to go in a long-distance race, he's going for the win. Currently position number 2 in turn number 3. Meanwhile, further on back, don't count out Patrick Emerling. He wheels it down to the inside of Luke Baldwin. Give him the spot in turn number 1.
That moves Emerling into 5th for the moment. Baldwin backpedaling now to the 6th spot. He's under attack as Eric Goodale is there off turn 2. Emerling on the charge, under 40 laps to go. Next car in the crosshair is going to be the 22 of Andrew Kraus.
So if I'm on the money on this one, the drivers in like the 24, for example, they have older tires. Austin Beers has older tires. Kraus has older tires. Drivers with fresher tires towards the front, towards the back, making their way to the front. They're doing a good job of hanging on to it right now.
You see Baldwin last time through, think he might have caught the front stretch outside wall. If he didn't, it was a piece of paper between the tires and that outside wall for Baldwin. Look at Silk. He's got no room for Goodale. Just slid him right up the racetrack, and Bonsignor will take advantage to the inside.
Yeah, room is not the only zero that Silk has right now. Off of turn number 4, driving like a man possessed behind a double file battle. He's going to try to make it 3 wide in turn number 1, shut down as they both try to get around Trevor Kraus. They both being Ron Silk and the number 7 of Luke Baldwin. Look at Silk. Silk has found what he was missing, and now he's going to go 3 abreast on the front stretch.
Move of the race there for Ron Silk. Ducked underneath. Baldwin gets 2 for 1 as he heads down into turn number 2. But here comes Justin Bonsignor. Rallies down to the inside to the rivals. Working into turn number 3. Sparks fly here at New Smyrna.
Week in, week out. Doesn't matter if they're running 7th, 27th, or 1-2. It seems like they always wind up around each other. And it has been a far from picture-perfect night for either the 51 or the 16, the 2 major stars of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. And they run single file, and I don't think they're going to go the final 35 laps without trading paint.
Elbows up off turn 4 that time for Silk as his car stepped out sideways on the front straightaway. Baldwin is now outside the top 5. He runs 7 in that 7 New York car. A mirror full of Steven Kopsick, who's on a tear here in the late stages, while Austin Beers trying to run away and hide, but he's got a slight advantage out front over Craig Lutz, only a few car lengths ahead, but the battle for the race lead has remained calm for the moment.
Old pavement, wild strategy has made for 167 laps of electrifying competition in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour season opener for 2025. And these aren't even the money laps. We're still over 30 laps from the finish. And Ryan Newman now stalking the back bumper of Andrew Kraus. Don't count out the driver in number 60 behind them. Matt Hirschman has struggled mightily in the last 20 minutes. He had a valve leak in number 60, which was causing the smoke. Looks like that's all taken care of, though.
Smart work by the crew to be able to get that car repaired and get him back out on track, and he's trying to see if he could be a factor before all said is done. It only takes one restart to change it all. Meanwhile, though, Austin Beers in command. He is trying to run away and hide from Craig Lutz, who would love to be able to get back in victory lane. You talk about racetracks that are similar to this that the series runs on. Thompson in Connecticut. Craig Lutz, very good at that racetrack. No surprise with the success he had here last year to see him running so well tonight. But does he have enough to catch the young and talented Austin Beers?
Austin Beers has he picked up one win last year. And the interesting thing is he's won on big tracks before, big tracks for the Whelen Modified Tour. He won at Richmond. He's, obviously at home when he runs at Lancaster. Lancaster, a much different banking than what we have here at New Smyrna, but he's fast here as well, too. Another driver who's been fast all night at different times is the 8 of Ryan Newman. Same thing for Catalano in the 54. And then there's Emmerling. So many different storylines to unfold in the final 27 laps of this race. It's Emmerling knocking on the door.
Certainly a lot of action early, heavy on cautions, but not light on action at all. This has been a great season opener to the 40th season of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour as Emmerling is able to sneak underneath Catalano, and that'll move him into the 3rd spot overall as Emmerling is not done yet, and he wants to put his name in the hat and an opportunity to win this one. He is not all that far behind the 64 and the 46. The race leader there comes across the line. It'll now be 25 circuits left to go here in this New Smyrna Beach area Visitors Bureau 200 to kick things off, but he has opened up that advantage back to Craig Lutz.
A few years ago, a driver who was running, trouble for Beers. Nope, it's not Beers. He's just avoiding some trouble in turn 4,
Sapienza.
which was, Dave Sapienza spinning around. Now, silently, Joe, I had thought to myself, because we wouldn't want to be the one that says, hey, they could use a caution flag to tighten this field up, because that would be really, really wild. Chances are it's going to happen. It's just the way the modifieds have run here tonight. Not 30 seconds later, Sapienza spins in turn number 4, tightening the field up once again. And even though you're up front right now, chances are you're going to be at least contested if you're going to no one's going to walk away with this one here tonight.
This is going to be wild. Inside of 23 laps to go when they come across the line this time by. And Austin Beers last year was trying to get that win at Seekonk Speedway, had the racing command. Guess what happened? Late race caution, and it changed everything for him. So Austin Beers has been there before in this situation, and Craig Lutz and that team, they are hungry.
Jeez, I don't know if there's anybody hungrier inside the top 5 than Lutz, and we've told the story a number of times here tonight on how that team has, and I'll talk to different members of the team, and it's always the same story. It's like, we know we're fast, we know we have a great driver, but for whatever reason, and sometimes it's just the $2 part that keeps them from putting a race together. Sometimes it's a bad set of tires. Craig Lutz is going to be a contender here tonight as we wind down the final laps of racing here at New Smyrna Speedway.
Fasten your seatbelt. The finish right around the corner. It's going to be a wild one. And this is why we say modifieds mainly around here, because this has been just an outstanding race. Packed crowd. Luke Baldwin back on pit lane. They're going to go ahead and get some more tires on that 7 New York, take rears to get him to the finish. But what a thrilling event we have seen so far. And it's not done yet.
How do you take a 200-lap event on a racetrack that's slightly more than half a mile? You throw some pit strategy in there, and you have seen it's like a choose-your-own-adventure book. They have 32 different stories, 31 different stories throughout the day, and there's some major debris right here on the front stretch that they'll definitely need to clean up, so lights stay on the race truck. One of the stories we were talking about earlier during the green flag run was Austin Beers, and one of the stories I tried to articulate, but we ended up having the situation with the 36 car, is that, he's a young driver, and I think he caught some people by surprise in 2023, winning that race at Richmond. He picked up 2 wins last year. So then there was the racing with expectation, which was something that Austin hadn't faced in his young modified career, despite his lineage through the modifieds and his family being able to walk him through the levels of success and the ups and downs with it. I think they felt a little off last year. Even though they did pick up the win, they had 9 top 5s, 15 top 10s. There was only one race where he didn't finish in the top 10, Joe. But I think this year they are looking to fill in those gaps. and get to another multi-race win season. And this is a great way to start. They are emptying the tank tonight in car number 64.
Mike Stefanik is a 7-time Whelen Modified Tour champion, and one of the guys that was key to his success was the crew chief by the name of Sly Zabin. And Sly has been working in the Modified Series for a long time, and he's been with the 64 car of Austin Beers for many years. But I think this year they really went back to the drawing board in the offseason, and they said there's a lot of little areas that we got to get a little bit better. We've had a good package, and Eric Beers, Austin's dad, told me last night that we've got to take what was good, refine it, and make it great. And tonight, they're showing that poise. Started second, battled through good, solid pit stops, executed on pit lane. Now in position to win in the late going. But if you've seen one of these modified races before, you know it is not over until that checkered flag flies. We are a long way from the finish, even though just 19 laps to go. It's going to be wild. There'll be 18 to go when they get the green.
What would you do to break through to victory lane if you are Craig Lutz? Number 64, Austin Beers on the outside. They are both locked on to the back of the pace truck. Double file coming down to the line, accelerating in turn number 4. Just 18 circuits to go when they hit the start-finish line. Sean Houlihan waves the green flag, and we're racing.
Beers spins the tires, and Craig Lutz surges to the lead on the bottom. Emmerling now to second, and here comes Justin Bonsignor. We thought he was done early in the race with a right front flat. Now he's battling for third.
He was in 30th position tonight, and the 4-time champion who's going for his 4th straight win. That has not happened since 1997. Justin Bonsignor to the inside, and Patrick Emmerling goes for the lead.
Emmerling working the inside lane, takes over the top spot, puts car number 1 out in front at New Smyrna. Craig Lutz only led for a lap or two, and he's back in the second position.
That number 1 team is locked in, and they basically went into ghost mode when it came to media. Jesse Punch tried to get a word with the 1 team to talk strategy, but they were just focused on winning this race. And in the next 15 laps, we'll know if that's a good story to tell or not, or if that move paid off for them. And down the back straightaway, look at Emmerling open it up by 2 car lengths into the corner.
Lutz trying to keep pace. Bonsignor to third as Beers falls back to 4th. Steven Kopsik having a good run there in 5th. And Ron Silk riding in 6th. But Patrick Emmerling out in front, 1 car length, 2 car lengths a lap, opening up the advantage back to the second place machine of Craig Lutz.
Lutz having a great run, and I love to see what the 46 team has done tonight. If they fall 1 position short, it is definitely 4 steps forward for car number 46, even if it is 1 position short, because they put together a whole race. They were a contender. They still could win this one. And now Justin Bonsignor shoots to the inside, nearly some contact in turn number 4. 51 in the tire tracks back into 1.
They go on the attack back into turn 1. Bonsignor tries to put the wheel underneath the 46. Remember, one long ago, he was into the outside wall. Off turn number 2 was Bonsignor. He has got a quick race car. Can he get by Craig Lutz? Does he have anything to track down Patrick Emmerling?
He brought out his own caution earlier in the event. He paid dearly. He had to sit down 1 lap in arrears as a result of the penalty. He was back as far as 30th. Then he got to 9th. Then through pit strategy back to 22nd. Now it's Sparks shooting out of the back of the 51. Justin Bonsignor is riding in position number 3, but under attack from Austin Beers, who's not out of this one, while Patrick Emmerling checks out.
So much going on here, and we're just inside the top 5. Great battles all the way around this racetrack. The best one might be in the battle for second. You go a little bit further back in the pack. Matt Hirschman trying to move forward as well. Brian Roby is there, and Tommy Catalano, who's had a good run today, his car in the late going starting to fade right now as he is just outside the top 10, running 12th.
On a racetrack much like this one back on the 14th of August, Patrick Emmerling broke through to victory lane for the very first time with this 1 team. Then, at Oswego, a few weeks later, ended up in victory lane. Then, on a racetrack that was high bank but much shorter, Monadnock Speedway in Winchester, New Hampshire. 3rd time in 4 races, Patrick Emmerling vaulted himself into the championship battle. He fell a little short last year, but definitely showed that the first first-year team was going to be a contender if they chose to come back this year, and they did. They are checking out, trying to pick up the victory here as there's a good battle with Austin Beers and Justin Bonsignor, who washed up right in front of the 64 last time by.
Beers trying to pick up a few more spots before it's all said and done. Gathers it back into the third position. He'll see if he can get one more before the checkered flag flies, because right now, coming up on the next time by for the race leader, Patrick Emmerling, it is going to be just 5 circuits to go here at New Smyrna, and he is checked out in his own zip code right now as he leads the field down into turn 1, and not a lot of lap traffic to deal with here in the closing laps for Patrick Emmerling.
In the short history of the Whelen Modified Tour racing on speed weeks, in this particular event, there have only been 2 winners, and that was Matt Hirschman. Big trouble, turn number 3.
It's Chris Hatton. There was contact between the 7 of York, the 16, and Hatton came across the nose of Ron Silk and backs it in driver's side to the outside wall. 2-time 602 modified champion here at New Smyrna Speedway. And inside of 4 laps to go, this one might just go to overtime tonight.
Wow. So just when you thought, if you're Patrick Emmerling and you're Emmerling's crew chief, you're like, okay, so we're off to the races. No, not so much. Let's watch and see what happened here. There was some contact between the 51 and the 7 further on back, and then they both came up on the slowed 09, who slung up, and Ron Silk had nowhere to go.
Yeah, came right across the nose of Ron Silk. They were 3 wide there for a moment. Chris Hatton was on the bottom. Get another look at it. Hatton's down to the inside. It looked like maybe the 7 and the 51 might have got together. No, it was the 7 got into the 09, and that just hooked the car to the right and into the outside wall. So tough break for Chris Hatton. I know he's got a lot of fans here that were cheering him on here tonight at his home track, hoping to do more races, was planning to be able to travel up north when the series runs at North Wilkesboro Speedway on Sunday, May 18th as part of the NASCAR All-Star Weekend at North Wilkesboro. And that's not going to be the case for Chris Hatton here today.
Let's go back to the last restart. And if you're Austin Beers, what's going through your head right now? You had the race in hand, and you spun your tires on the restart. How cautious will you be in overtime? That's got to play in the back of your mind for that young race car driver.
Yeah, we'll take a look at, how Austin Beers can recover. Let's just take a look quickly at the overtime rules. So in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, unlimited attempts at a green, white, checkered finish. Here's how it'll work. They'll see a green flag. If they come around and see the white flag, the next flag will end the race, whether that's the checkered flag or the caution flag, and they'll freeze the field and go back and score it that way. If we don't make it to the white flag before the caution comes out, they will re-rack them and try again. Well, after a 6-minute red flag, the caution flag back out here at New Smyrna Speedway. 2 laps to go. We are in overtime for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. What an event we have seen so far. The question is, what's going to happen next?
With 6 minutes on the racetrack and the tires completely cooled down, this race has been a race full of strategy, where everyone geared to have the freshest tires at the end, tires at a premium. But now everybody's cooled their tires down, and we have a green-white checkered. Does tire wear matter within 2 laps?
I think at this point you've got what you got. I don't see that strategy has played itself out. Your strategy got yourself the track position. It's really down to what the driver can do. Get those tires cleared up, get things ready to go. You've sat under this. You've had a chance to think about it a little bit. That mental game comes in to play. How do you play that restart? What do you know about your opponents that you can use against them?
Okay, if they know that Austin Beers goes down below the yellow line or likes to dance with that, they block him there. Because something tells me that Austin Beers, starting on the inside of row number 2, has excelled down low in turn 1, from practice. It's almost like he set himself up for this moment. If he does not spin his tires on this restart, do not just give it to Patrick Emmerling. He's got a very fast race car. He's one of the smoothest guys out there. He's going to be tough to beat. But if we're throwing the Hail Mary, and I'm Austin Beers, I drive it deep into turn number 1, and I hope for the best.
Well, let's find out what the thoughts are down from Jesse Punch. Jesse, it's been a wild and eventful night so far. How's this one going to play out, you think?
I have a feeling we are far from over when it comes to the end of this race. You guys were just speculating on the tires cooling down, having seen these cars sit out there for 6+ minutes now, and I caught up with the crew chief of the #1 of Patrick Emmerling, Dale Hedquist, and I said, Dale, how much does that matter right now, sitting there on those tires? He said, a whole lot. The only thing that's helping us, though, is that we are on significantly newer tires than the rest of the guys up front. So even though everyone has sat and cooled down, they are holding on to hope that their newer tires will help them, but he also said, we're just gonna have to see what happens on the restart.
I'm with you, Jesse. I think we are far from done also.
I know you and I debated this during the commercial break, and I thought, okay, well, all Patrick has to do if he's going to hang on to this one is survive one restart. And you just looked at me like I did something wicked bad. And I'm like, what's wrong? And you're like, no, we're not done. We're not done, son. We're going to go through. How many of these are we going to have?
I know, man. It's not your first day, right? I mean, this is crazy.
But I thought these guys would be able to do this in one more restart. But then you throw in the fact that the tires have been cooled for 6 laps. The players, Emmerling wants to assert himself as the title contender, or maybe even the title favorite after the first couple of events, and setting the tone this early is going to be great. Then you have Craig Lutz, first time he is, well, been in this position for a while. He's put together a whole race tonight and could break through. We've already documented Austin Beers and what he's willing to do to get there. But what about that car that sits in 4th? It started in 4th, and it's going for the 4th win in a row, which hasn't been done since 1997. That's got to be in the back of the mind of Justin Bonsignor.
But how good is his car, right? He's bounced off the wall. He's had to go from the back to the front. He's used a lot of brake. He's used a lot of tire. Does he have anything left, or can he take advantage at the right time, at the right moment, as we see things play out? 1 to go. As we get set to go, let's quickly go back down to pit lane before the restart to Jesse Bunch.
Just adding to your conversation about the 51 of Bonsignor, yes, looking for a huge win for him. However, very frustrated behind the wheel of that car. That team has been battling bad luck all day long, and they tell me, look, if we can just bring home a race car in one piece, we'll be happy at this point.
He can sniff the lead, though. That may change if he gets a great restart. Remember, Austin Beers, fast race car, spun his tires last time. He excels in turn #1. Who is willing to do what over the final green-white checker to break through for the first time in 2025?
The victory for Craig Lutz on the bottom is tantalizingly close. Can he get the win tonight over Patrick Emmerling as a green flag comes out? Emmerling surges to the race lead. Bonsignor looking for second as they head for turn 2.
Austin Beers opens up the bottom side, tries to get a run on Craig Lutz, who slams the door. They both go after Patrick Emmerling in turn #3.
Here comes Lutz trying to be on the defense. He'll come to the line this time by 1 lap to go for Patrick Emmerling as Baldwin hits the wall off turn #4, but it's Patrick Emmerling to lead the way in turn 2.
Next flag will end the race, and Emmerling opens up a 5-car length advantage down the back straightaway. Lutz will run second, and they are single file off of turn #4.
Off turn 4, though, Patrick Emmerling's going to hold on and score his 8th career Whelen Modified Tour victory at New Smyrna. And meanwhile, Mark Stewart, hard lick into the outside wall off turn 4.
These events with fireworks on either end of the racetrack. There's the traditional fireworks in turn #1, and then there is Stewart, who piled it in turn #4. Wild action at the end of the NASCAR Whelen Modified event to kick off the 2025 racing season. And the new Smyrna Beach Area Visitors Bureau 200 goes to the driver who has won 4 races inside the last 8. And I think that's something to be said for car #1, who starts his season in victory lane. The Fleet Works Incorporated Middlesex Interiors sponsored ride. Window net coming down for one Patrick Emmerling.
Patrick Emmerling has brought his car down to victory lane, and he will celebrate the victory to kick off the 40th season for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Dale Hedquist, the entire team. Rich Gautreau, who has been part of this team, is the driver, or this is the owner of this car. Fleet Works, based in California. but he wanted to be modified racing. He selected Patrick Emmerling as his driver, and as it starts the season here, second year with this team, certainly a good selection as Patrick Emmerling starts the season with a win.
They are no sophomore slump at all, and pocketing nearly $16,000 for this win as a direct result of Whelen Engineering's continued investment in regional NASCAR racing. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you have been treated to racing at its finest. You had everything. You had a bit of dominance. You had some great side-by-side racing. You had drivers bouncing off each other, and now you have a driver exiting the vehicle. Ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Emmerling is your winner!
Patrick Emmerling out in victory lane. Will have the opportunity to celebrate with his entire team, and a big win for Emmerling. Let's go down and hear from the race winner. Let's go down to victory lane with Jesse Punch.
All smiles down here in victory lane for Patrick Emmerling. Patrick, 8th win of your career, but 4th with this team, starting the year with a win. What does this one mean to you?
I just have to thank everyone involved for the opportunity. I mean, this wouldn't happen if it wasn't for Rich Gautreau and my family and this whole awesome crew right here. I think we have the best crew in the garage, best team, best everything, and and thank you for everyone involved. This is an incredible coming out. You know, this is what we expected to do. We made it a little bit harder on ourselves. We had a little motor issue, and we started dead last today. And but we knew I won races like that before, you know, in this series. And sometimes it just puts you on a different schedule and a different pit cycle, and really, you know, can get you there. So just shout out to everyone involved. Yeah, Rich Gautreau with Fleet Works again. This wouldn't happen if it wasn't for him. Tim Lupine from Middle System Tiers, and my family, and just everyone involved here. We have so many partners that help us get out here, but just shout out to this team here. It's this is incredible. Yeah, I was just tearing up for a second. So just absolutely incredible. Just so happy, you know, to do this first race of the season. I mean, I think we were the best team for the majority of the season last year, and we're just trying to pick up where we left off.
Well, Patrick, your confidence is undeniable. You said it. You had to work incredibly hard to get this win. You were confident before the race, and even coming to that restart, we're confident behind the wheel. What does this confidence come from? What do you attribute it to? Yeah,
we were just so dialed. I mean, the one car, again, fastest car on the racetrack. These are the fastest cars I've ever driven in my life, and you know, we can just, you know, get out there and do our thing, and just everyone has to execute, and you know, we'll finish like this.
Congratulations, Patrick.
Thank you.
You heard him. That's the fastest car he's ever driven in his life. This competition is going to be a good one this season as he pulls the number for the finisher. For 21st finisher today, we'll be taking home a set of tires from Hoosier. Our 21st finisher is Mike Marshall in that 29 car. He'll be taking home a set of Hoosier tires. Patrick Emmerling gets win number 8 here tonight at New Smyrna Speedway.
Thank you, Jesse. That team will be celebrating long into the night. They head to a racetrack next at Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park in Connecticut, where he is also shown to be very, very fast, and we're looking to see what the season holds for Patrick Emmerling. A solid start for Craig Lutz. He came home in second tonight. We'll go downstairs and hear from him.
Craig, the disappointment is there. I can see it. Take me through those final laps. What was going through your mind?
Just this race is so tough with 200 laps, the different tire strategy, fuel stop. It's a whole team effort. You know, that the first 2 cautions we got behind on track position, so you know, I didn't know what was going to pan out here, but all my guys dug deep all day. You know, we had good adjustments. My crew chief Doug Ojigo did a great job. All my guys on their stops. You know, we wanted this one bad for a fellow team member of ours that we lost at Martinsville. So this was the first race without him, and we were trying like hell. But Pat had a great car. The best car won, but we gave it a fight.
That's Craig Lutz, your second place finish here tonight. Making our way down here to our third place finisher, the defending champion, Justin Bonsignor. Justin, heck of a day. You guys had, luck wasn't on your side, to say the least. Talk to me about your day and how you got it done.
It's just a wild night. Tire went down like a half a lap into the restart, and you know, there's really nothing you could do. You just got to take that penalty you would be 4 to 5 laps down if you come down pit road. And yeah, it was just a hard-fought night after that. You know, we didn't get the lucky dog as quick as we had liked. And then off at 2, I just ran out of talent and knocked the fence down. And that probably hurt us the most more than anything. Probably knocked the rear out of alignment pretty bad. But still fought back. We were struggling there at the end, just loose on every set of tires after the flat. But yeah, that green white checker kind of saved us. Hopefully the guy in the 09's okay. I think his name's Chris. It was a pretty hard hit in the mirror. So yeah, all in all, just a good day. I want to say hello to my wife Taylor at home, 36 weeks. So hopefully I can get home tomorrow. I also want to thank Phoenix Communications, Clearcom IT Solutions, Fury Race Cars, Robbie Yates Engines, M3 Technology, the whole team led by Ryan Stone, Ken Massa. Just a tough trip to get down here, and we're happy to come out here with a third. You know, Emmerling was in a league of his own there at the end. I thought I could beat the 46 and it just faded. So good recovery, and that's how you can build these championship battles is have nights like this.
As Justin Bonsignor, not the day he was hoping for, but manages to bring it home in third.
I think you look back on the season, and these are the days, as Justin Bonsignor alluded to, where you had a car that wasn't good enough to win the race, comes home with a top 3, and that's why they have 4 championships.
He was 30th. He ended up 3rd. I mean, that's just incredible. Craig Lutz, even though he's disappointed, he's going to look back on this tomorrow, and, I mean, he may be kicking himself a little bit, but the team has to love the progress. As I stated earlier, yeah, it seems like they came up a little short. But you can't look at it as one step away from victory. You got to look at it as 3 steps ahead of from where they were. And if they're looking at all their hot button issues over the last couple of years, monumental jumps for that 46 team. Putting together a consistent race, if they're able to do this for a number of different times in 2024 or 2025, Lord knows where they end up. And that's one thing that I was really invigorated by tonight's race. Yes, Silk ran strong. Yes, Bonsignor ran strong. But so many times last year, it was about those 2 cars. And then you threw in Patrick Emmerling at the end. This year, Patrick Emmerling has asserted himself as the driver that is going to not only contend for the championship, but he wants to be a favorite for it and his first crown, potentially. Craig Lutz continues to put together some good runs. And then you had other drivers through the field as well. Luke Baldwin will be running the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour this year as an 18-year-old, and you can look ahead at some of these events that are going to be coming up too. He's going to do well with those, and to have a new star like that with a legacy car in the 7 New York, that's going to be a great year. Austin Beers has to feel really good about what he did tonight. Ran up front, comes away with a top 5 finish, and there you see where we're going to be in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour in a very short time. Yeah,
about a month off before we go to Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park. Monadnock Speedway up in New Hampshire. North Wilkesboro, part of All-Star Weekend for the NASCAR Cup Series. Seekonk, Riverhead, and White Mountain. Before you know it, it's going to be the month of July as the season rolls on. A 16-race schedule. We got it started off in fantastic fashion tonight at New Smyrna Speedway. It's been great to be here as part of the Hart family in this outstanding week of racing. It's only night 2 of 9 nights of racing here at New Smyrna. There's a lot still yet to come. Hopefully you'll stay with us throughout all that action on Flow Sports. A victory for Patrick Emmerling, and thanks to everybody with the crew here at Flow Racing. Jesse Punch on pit road, Andy Austin here in the booth, and of course our colleague Ben Dodge, who kept us honest as the night goes on. We'll have Ben back when he's feeling better at Thompson. Stick with us. Charlie Krall, Adam Mackey will be back with you for the Pro Late Models as Patrick Emmerling will continue his celebration of winning in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Good night, everybody.